Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is the G Suite Wizard and today we're going to continue our playlist on Google Sheet formulas. Today we're going to learn about a very important formula called query formula. So I'll first show you what query is and how we use it. Let me take some use case scenarios. I have a data here, and if I want to put a filter for this data and I want to filter out using region, let's say I want Arunachal Pradesh as the region, so I'd have to go and put the filter in the data set I have. If I need it in another place, I would have to copy all of this and paste it over there. And if I need a different filter, let's say from Arunachal Pradesh to Andhra Pradesh, I would have to again change the filter. So what is a easier way to do this filtering out? So for this we have the query function. Use query function to filter out a data, to give you a subset of a data in a filtered format from certain given conditions. So when you enter a formula, the first thing that you need to do is select the data that you need to filter out, right? Let's say I'll put it from A to G. Done. Then when I click on comma, I'll go into the query part of the formula where I put the query or the condition that I want. So to write a query, there are certain preset conditions. You have to write it inside a double quote, then it will be considered as a query. Then you have to start it using select. So this select is, you'll be selecting the columns over here, so you need to choose the columns that you want to select. So let's say I want all the columns to be displayed. What I would do is, instead of putting column names, I would put a star symbol. Then star symbolizes all the columns that are there in your data set. I'll put a where. This is where I introduce my conditions. So let's say I want to filter out the data. I want to give the I want to show the data which has the region as Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll say where select all, where C represents the column name, that is C is equals to Andhra Pradesh, and I'll end the double quote. Then I'll click comma and it will enter into header section. This is purely optional and I would always choose to opt it out. All right, so now as you can see, this data, I got a filter data over here just with using a formula in one cell. I've got a data set which is spilling into other cells as well. So why I put a single quote is, query does not understand values that are in text format, right? So you have to say that I need values where C is exactly equal to this one, right? If I do not put this, it would give me an error, a value error, where it's a value error where was expecting, it'll give you an error. Or else, let's say I put it inside a quote, but let's say I make a mistake, right? It will still give me empty set because there is no value that is equal to the exact thing in column C. Let's say I change one value and I make this as the one that we are looking for. You can see that this has come over here. Now that we have this data set, what can we do with this data set, right? Let's say I have this, or let's say I can put this on the first row. So as you can see, I can put this formula in this sheet or in a different subsheet anywhere in this whole sheet, and it will represent this data as it is. But can I make changes to this data? So let's say I want to change this particular thing to 0, right? What would happen is you would get a reference error stating that this array is not able to expand past O4. O4 is this one where we've put a 0, right? So it is not able to expand or overflow into the neighboring cells, which is particularly O4, which we have edited. And so this data will not be editable. It is just a mirror of the data that you have on your main sheet or your main data set. It is just a mirror of that, and whatever is there, it will be represented over here as an array and not as absolute value inside the cell. Okay, now the next thing is introducing more conditions into the query function. Let's say I want one more region where let's say I want a region with India. Okay, so what I would do is, so you need to understand the and or parameters or and or functions. Okay, so when I put and, see, so column names or the column alphabets should always be capital letters, equals to, let's say, India. It should be the exact match as your data set. So right now what is happening here, I have got a data set with no rows, only headers. What happened here is this data, this query is looking for a particular type of data where C is Andhra Pradesh and C is also India, right? So it will check each row. It will see first the condition, is it Andhra Pradesh? If yes, then it will go to the second condition, is it India? So there is no value possible here where it can be both C and both India and Andhra Pradesh at the same time in the same cell, right? So that is why you're getting a null or empty set. Let's say instead of this I will do a different condition. Let's say I want confirmed cases, that is D greater than, let's say, 10,000, right? So now you can see we have a data set that is coming over here which has confirmed cases more than 10,000 and the region is Andhra Pradesh, right? So it will go to each row, it will filter out Andhra Pradesh first, and then it will filter out the ones that have more than 10,000 confirmed cases. All right, now let's say I put OR function. So you need to understand the importance of and OR over here. Okay, so I have put C is Andhra Pradesh and D is greater than 1000, but I have used OR in the query. So what OR does is it will give you the data which has either C as Andhra Pradesh or D greater than 10,000. So even if in each row, it will check each row, it will see if either it is obeying the condition that C is Andhra Pradesh or D is greater than 10,000. Okay, so you will see all the rows, either it will be a confirmed case is greater than 10,000 or a region which is Andhra Pradesh, right? So you can see that Andhra Pradesh is showing with confirmed cases only one. So it's not taking both 10,000 greater than 10,000 and Andhra Pradesh, it's taking either Andhra Pradesh or greater than 10,000 cases. Okay, so you can add as many as queries or as many as conditions you want inside one query. Let's say I will add one more condition where or let's say I want to check with deaths, that is G, deaths greater than or deaths less than 300. So now I've got a filter data where each row is either Andhra Pradesh region or with confirmed cases greater than 10,000 or with deaths less than 300. So any one condition, if it's obeying, it will be in this data set, right? So where does it get tricky? The trickier part is when you club or and functions together, right? Let's say I will put and here. What is going to happen? So you see that this data has been filtered again, and you can see that here. How is this query taking three conditions? I'll show you the flow or the algorithm on how the query function works, right? So how it works is it will take these two columns and it will see this it will take the last two conditions. You'll see the operator between it. The operator right now is AND. So what it does is it will filter out. So it will take these two as one condition. It will first have this data and it will also have this data, and it will give a union of these two, right? So you will find data here which is either from a region of Andhra Pradesh or a different region which has greater than 10,000 cases and less than 300 deaths. So let's see if that data is correct or not. So I have Andhra Pradesh. There are cases less than 10,000, but this is coming here because it's in Andhra Pradesh region. Let's scroll down to see. So you can see there's Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is starting from 10,000 cases and it has less deaths than 300, right? So you can see the deaths are always less than 300 here after Andhra Pradesh. So the next very important condition that we can use in query is a date condition, right? Let's say I want only the data set after 28th June, right? How do I do that? Let's say I put select all where I would need the date. Date is in column B, so I would be greater than, I will say June 28th 2020. Oh, so what happened over here is there's a value error that is coming because query does not understand date format in the way that we see it, right? I will show you a small example. Let's say I put that same thing over here, right? And this, and this is the date that we see in, but what does the sheet see it in? The sheet sees it in a number format, right? So that is the reason query is not able to understand this. So how do we do it? How do we change it? So for this, what we need to do is we need to mention to the query that it is a date that we are entering, and we need to put it in a double quote so that it understands it's just a text. And let's say I put it in the format that we generally use. It will still give me a value error because the date should always be in year dash month dash day format. Okay, let me just rewrite this. 2020-06-28. Now what you're going to do is, what you're going to see is a reference. That is because there's a function over here. If we delete that, the query will be able to spill the data into the rest of the cells. Here you can see that the data is only after 28th June. So what is the, so now if I want to get this in a sorted form, in a sorted way, right? Let's say in an ascending or descending order. What you just need to complete your query, then write ordered by, then choose your column which you want to sort it. Let's say I want to sort it by B. So you have to see the column that is in the original data and not where you're putting. Right now I'm putting it in K. That doesn't mean L will be my column that I need to sort it, but I need to sort it by the B column, right? And I will put ascending, ASC for ascending, and DESC for descending. Let me put descending. So now you have the data in a descending format and it is sorted on a date. So if I put ASC, it will be ascending order sorted. Now there we have it, the data, it is all sorted. And the last thing I would show you is a very simple thing. Let's say instead of all, I only want the selected columns. Again, you have to see the positioning of your main data set. I'll put, let's say I want date, I want region and confirmed cases. I will put B, which is the date, space, you need to give space after comma, C, comma, space, D. Now we will see that this data is only filtered to the 3 columns that we've mentioned. You can play around with the columns, you can change the way you want them to be represented, right? So now I've interchanged the column B, D and C, and the query is giving us in the format that we want. So that's it for the basics of our query function. In the next videos, I'm also going to show you in much more depth about query. So please stay tuned, keep watching my videos, and thank you.